muted your phone or?
You're about to go live right now. Unmute. Yeah, unmute. Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome. Can I get a motion to reconvene in open session? Moved by Doug, seconded by Sandy. All those in favor? You were reconvened in open session. Before we begin, we acknowledge that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements and their contributions to our community. We offer this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. Yeah. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Closed session recommendations are on consent agenda 7.1 to 7.6. Anyone have any questions or want something taken off? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Moved by Jim, seconded by Sandy. All those in favor? That's approved. Business arising from the minutes. There is none. Correspondence, there's a couple. One is in response to what we sent from the ministry on work security funding, and there in 9.2, the request for the Hearts and Heroes Gala, and I think there's a motion there for from the police board for that gala. Anyone have any questions? Not, I look for a move by a seconder. Moved by Chair Redmond, seconded by Jim. All those in favor? Passed unanimously. Police Service Board reports. Oh, exciting. Chief, over to you. I think we've got 11.1 St. Patrick's Day 2026 deployment. Over to you, and I think Inspector over.
Good morning, Chair McLean and members of the board. Yep, proud to have a couple presentations that are back to back. So I will ask Deputy Davis just to provide a short introduction of our two next speakers and the reports. Thanks very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief. Thanks, Chair McLean. So first up, we have Inspector Tanya Klinenberg, who's going to be presenting our final report on our St. Patrick's Day deployment period this past March. And following that, we're going to go into a presentation by Inspector Mulholland on public demonstrations and our public order unit. Because the two do relate, they overlap in how we resource and use our public order unit. So that's why these are back to back. And the second report is one that we provide twice a year to the board just on deployments. So on that, I will turn it over to Inspector Klinenberg to start with the first report.
Good morning. Thank you, Deputy. Can I just ask for the PowerPoint just to be shared on the screen as well? And while that's getting put up on the screen, good morning, Chair McLean, Vice Chair Redmond, and members of the Police Services Board. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to our St. Patrick's Day deployment for 2026. I don't see the PowerPoint up on the screen. I can wait until there we go. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So as we know, our unsanctioned gatherings, they continue to place a significant strain on emergency and municipal services. We continue to partner with City of Waterloo bylaw enforcement services, as well as paramedic services, Wilfrid Laurier University, as well as Waterloo Fire Department. This year, we utilized our police liaison team, as well as in partnership with City of Waterloo, conducted a significant amount of proactive engagement. Citizen-generated calls for service were reduced from 108 last year to 98 calls for service this year. Go to the next slide, please. So it was at approximately 3 p.m. that we started to see a significant influx in participants coming to the King Street and Marshall area. We continue to have the Ezra area corridor fenced off. People continue to congregate in the area of King and Marshall. The photo on the left side depicts King and Marshall intersection. The photo on your right depicts Marshall and Regina Street intersection. So at approximately 3:15 is where we started to see the influx of waves of people coming onto the street. And you'll see at the forefront of the photo on the left, we at that time were positioning resources to really isolate and contain that crowd of people onto Marshall Street, and also trying to prevent additional ingress routes from the neighboring intersections. If you go to the next slide, please. So at approximately 4:30 p.m., again, the photo on the left is King and Marshall, and the photo on the right is just a long view of Marshall Street. And at the farthest right side, you'll see that's Regina and Marshall. So we continued to disperse the crowd, our goal being to minimize the duration of the crowd as well as the crowd size. So once we had our resources in place and we felt that we were in the best position to disperse the crowd, to do so safely, we immediately began that process. So that started at approximately 4:30. We used our LRAD to help with the communication piece on that, telling members or people that were there as well that they needed to leave the area. And if you can go to the next photo, please. I believe it's for about 5:10 p.m. Sorry, the next slide. So at approximately 5:10 p.m., you can see the results that we had from our strategy for our crowd dispersal. Again, the photo on the left-hand side is for King and Marshall, and the photo on the right is Regina and Marshall Street. So within less than an hour, we were able to effectively disperse that crowd in a very controlled and safe manner without having injuries to anybody in the public as well as our members. If you can go to the next slide, please. So just a high-level overview of our deployment strategies. So we continued with pre-engagement leading up to our St. Patrick's Day weekend. It was through use of our police liaison team as well as City of Waterloo. We engaged with student associations, frat houses, liquor license establishments, as well as our greater student community as well. CCTV continued to be a very effective tool in allowing us to monitor crowd swell and also identifying any potential threats. We continue to use signage as well, ensuring that anybody in the area that was making a decision to participate in the unsanctioned gathering, they knew of the penalties. We used the long-range acoustic device as well, as I mentioned earlier, as a communication tool to quickly or to help us quickly disperse the crowd. As well as City of Waterloo enhanced their nuisance bylaw, which was also an effective tool for us, as well as City of Waterloo bylaw enforcement officers for enforcement. Again, I just want to reiterate our priority was to minimize crowd size, minimize the duration, and that was done through pre-engagement, high visibility, communication, and enforcement. If you can go to the next slide. So here's some of our statistics. So at peak, the crowd estimate was 7,500. That's at least 50% less than what we saw last year, which I think is significant, as year over year, the trend has been a 50% increase. Our deployment costs were approximately $320,000, a slight increase from last year. Most of that is because of the additional resources that were required to ensure that we could effectively deploy our operational plan. We had 392 occurrences, 98 of which were citizen generated. The remaining occurrences were generated by officers as proactive occurrences. Resulted in 218 charges compared to 254, I should say, in 2025. And the officers had also made 15 arrests compared to 17 arrests in 2025. You can go to the next slide, please. And here is an overview of all of the charges. I won't go through every single one. However, I just wanted to highlight the number of liquor license tickets that were issued, being at 58, and the number of arrests that were made, and to highlight the calls for service as well from the citizen-generated calls for services decreasing from last year, and the increase in proactive occurrences that were generated by officers. And that is the high-level overview. You can just go to the next slide. That's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for your report. Karen Quigley, Holland.
Thanks very much for the report. I just was curious about the statistics, where there are 168 Highway Traffic Act charges. Curious because it's an on-foot type of mass gathering. So I'm assuming this happened around the perimeter of the event.
So part of our employment includes members from our traffic services unit, as well as patrol officers that are present and visible in the surrounding neighborhood, not just King and Marshall. So that's where that enforcement is coming from. Thanks for the question and clarifying that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Karen,
Can you just talk just for a little bit about WRPS, PLT, and City of Waterloo MES proactive engagement campaign? Who does it, and what kind of outreach does that look like?
Sure. So our police liaison team is relatively new to our service. It's a number of officers. For St. Patrick's Day, we deployed about half a dozen officers as our police liaison team to engage with our university associations, the liquor license establishments in Uptown Waterloo, as well as the greater student community. And the purpose of their messaging was the educational piece, to inform them about attending an unsanctioned street gathering and what the penalties would be for that. And again, that's in collaboration, when I mentioned City of Waterloo enforcement, just to emphasize the nuisance bylaw and the penalties around that, is significant fines that City of Waterloo built into those penalties. So it was really just an emphasis on education as a means to hopefully deter or prevent people from wanting to participate in the unsanctioned street gathering.
And if I can, just thank you very much for that additional information. I think sometimes you look at the cost and everybody recoils because there's such big numbers, but there are proactive things that are being done. And I know as an elected official, I often meet with the student associations at both universities. And I think for a few years we've engaged them. And I think that's a really good way to sort of get the message out from students to other students. So I'm assuming that continues to be part of the engagement campaign.
Yes, it was the relationship was very, I would say, productive, and the communication was well received from the student association, and just overall with the student community that we were engaged with as well. The information was definitely appreciated that was being shared with them.
Thank you.
other questions? I'll have a couple of comments. To me, this is Groundhog Day. We should put this on Groundhog Day. I've been, as a former city councillor, been dealing with this since 2010. And so first, thank you to the service, to yourself and service, for managing it as best you can with some new tools. But I guess the underlying theme that I every year several times would say, this is just very, very dangerous. It's unsanctioned. It should not happen at all. No, and we talked about the cost, and I don't know, chief or inspector, 321,000, which is WRPS, but I don't think it accounts for bylaw. Doesn't account for, we have other services that come in, and I don't think that's captured in here. EMS, there's a whole range of costs on top of the inconvenience and the unsafe nature of it associated with this. So I continue to be very concerned with the dangerous nature of this. and how costly it is. And I think we benefited this year because seemed to be less people out, but we were lucky that it was on a Tuesday. And I think we had bad weather for at least a portion of some of these days where it did rain. I always say we can't be subject to where the calendar lands St. Patty's Day or whether we have bad weather, although we pray for both. So there are some issues that have come up, and I guess this is mostly, Chief, we've talked before, I think at the last month's meeting. I think it's time we have new leadership at Laurie or at University of Waterloo and incoming at Conestoga College. And obviously at Laurie, we still have President McClatchy. Probably time for yourself and myself and the leadership at those universities and the mayor of Waterloo, but having senior people come together and say, the goal has to be ending this. And what are some of the things that are beyond WRPS capacity to do it, such as the idea has come forward from the community of move reading week so that it's right in the middle of reading week. Many students would not be on campus. That's just one idea. I think, Chief, maybe this is more for the chief. That's something we should do sooner rather than later, Chief, to try and say, this is, they always know when it's coming next year. Is that something that we should do this spring while this is still fresh in our mind, about A, the cost, but B, how dangerous it is? Because I continue to say one of these years, something really horrific is going to happen and the community will be rightly upset. We got to keep trying to end this, not manage it. So I don't know, Chief, you have any thoughts on that?
Thanks, Chair McLean, and many thanks to the team and the larger teams, that have effectively, managed this year's events. But we are in agreement from a leadership perspective of the cost, the risk, and the total impact on our community and all services involved is significant and continues to be of great, concern to us moving forward. So we are in agreement with the board that we would like to facilitate those next level conversations to take lessons learned from this year's deployment and to carry those forward into new solutions. I will remind us all that we have had multi-year collaborative recommendations that we've incorporated into our planning and our management, but we are aligned on this, so we'll carry that forward with the board's direction to those next level conversations.
Okay. You and I can discuss when we do that, but I would think this spring as opposed to letting it get to next fall. Like, let's do it sooner rather than. Okay, thank you for the report. Appreciate that. Now, who's doing the public demonstrations? Is that Inspector Mahal? Are we moving on to that one? Yeah. Chief, next report.
Yeah, absolutely. So Inspector Jason Mulholland is here to provide a presentation on public demonstrations and public order. And this is about the general scope of our deployments in this regard. And it's complementary to the presentation we've just had. So over to you, Jason. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief. And if I can ask the presentation be put up, please. All right, great. Thank you very much, Holly. Chair McLean, Vice Chair Redmond, and members of the Police Services Board. I'm here just to give you a brief presentation on public demonstrations and public order. If you can go to the next slide, please. The Public Order Unit, it's responsible for preserving the freedom of peaceful assembly, maintaining law and order, ensuring the safety of the public, and assisting with searches of people. Since 2020, we've had a significant increase in public order deployments from 7 in 2020 to a max of 36 in 2024, and then 2025 saw a little bit of a decrease to 24 deployments. Thus far in 2026, we are trending about the same as in 2025. If you could go to the next slide, please. This slide gives you a little bit more information about the Public Order Unit. It's a large-scale unit consisting currently of 70 part-time members. The members are trained in crowd management, crowd control, and the search of missing persons. With the increased demand of deployments, we've continued to add members, and we do have a goal of growing to 75 members. And there's an initial budgetary impact of training and protective equipment. And below here, I have an illustration here of a smaller public order deployments. So in November of 2025, we had 22 members assist members of Niagara Regional Police Service for their G7 Foreign Ministry Summit for a cost of approximately $24,000. Now, in this situation, there was a cost recovery where WRPS did get the costing back from Niagara Regional Police Service, but this kind of gives you a sense of like a smaller scale deployment as opposed to St. Patrick's Day. So if you can go to the next slide, please. And this slide is meant to highlight a new piece of equipment that we got and we deployed during St. Patrick's Day, which is the LRAD, the Long Range Acoustic Device. This was a key piece of equipment that allows us to communicate with large scale crowds. And this was one of the reasons why we were effectively able to remove the crowd so quickly during St. Patrick's Day. Our goal in the future here is for our POU team to be up to 75 members. And the reason for that is just the ongoing global and national geopolitical events that lead to a sustained increase in our deployments. And I believe this trend will continue in the future. In addition to our annual deployments of St. Patrick's Day, Victoria Day, Canada Day, and Homecoming. And twice a year, we do spring and fall training as part of a CSPA regulation. Currently, right now, our POU team is at our regional training facility doing our large-scale scenario. And we actually have 4 members with one of our POU commanders, which we've partnered with the London Police Service to deliver a basic course. So that will get us up to 70, and then we will continue to move towards 75. So if you can go to the next slide, please. And that is pretty much the state of our public order unit, and I'm willing to take any questions.
Just one question for clarity. You say there's 70 and moving up to 75, 24 deployments. These officers are doing other activities in between the deployments. It's just they're trained when they're brought in from other activities they're doing.
That's correct, Chair McLean. These is a part-time members, so every single member is deployed in full-time areas across the police service, and they're only brought together when the risk assessment denotes that we need additional public order members, and then they're specifically brought in to do that detail and go back to the original detail.
So when you talk about, I mean, that's the 4 plus supervisor doing, so there's training involved, and we may do that in cooperation with other public order units. So they're getting specific training for how to handle St. Patty's Day, Canada Day, the things you talked about. But on a day-to-day basis, they may be in, I don't know, maybe not traffic, but traffic or investigations or wherever. And they brought when there's well, even if there's not time to plan, when it's needed, they're brought in from their units. So there is cost, and I guess that's where I'm going with this, is if you're more training to officers to be ready to handle these things. That's a cost to have them trained. There's a cost for the service, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. There's always ongoing training costs. So we do have training that is sanctioned by OPC that goes through a graduated level from the basic course up to the higher levels of command, so that we can make sure that we have everyone trained appropriately. And then there's always the protective equipment costs. So it's about $3,500 to $4,000 in equipment initially, plus our ongoing training.
And I guess it's really, Chief pointed out, this is a companion piece to our St. Patty's. It's not just the costs that we associate with St. Patty's Day. There's ongoing training and other things to make sure we have the right officers with the right skills and the right equipment, which is, again, another, I guess it's a hidden cost, if you will, when we think about the St. Patty's Day cost specific. There's other parts that are inherent in making sure that they're trained appropriately and have all the safety aspects that they need when doing these public order deployments. That fair?
Yeah, thanks, Chair McLean. Absolutely right. So with the Community Safety and Policing Act reinforcing standards for training, equipment, and best practices for deployment, this is an annual report to show the trajectory of increased needs in our community and in those across Ontario to hit those adequacy standards and to ensure that we are coordinated, have the capability for a community of our size, but also to highlight the complementary teamwork that occurs across the province where multiple agencies need to come together. And I would just remind the board and the public that within the last year, the Inspectorate of Policing released a spotlight report on policing of protests and major events, public order and maintenance in Ontario. That's the title. And that really gave a snapshot of where we are as a province, given all the geopolitical issues and the increased need to bolster this capability here for WRPS, but also right across the province.
One other thing, Chief, in terms of, so in St. Patty's Day, we did have other services that we asked to come and be part of our deployment. But we provide that same kind of, in reference to, I think, Inspector Mulholland did the Niagara example. We also do that for smaller services as well. If there's something in Stratford, which the other places, and maybe part of ESCO, others. That's because we all work together because not everyone has a public order unit of the appropriate size. So maybe just talk a little bit about that, because that's one of the ways that we partner with other services across the region and across the province.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So in that report that I mentioned, it gave that snapshot of the requirement to have a province-wide capability so that we can assist each other in times of need. Any community across the province could have, a protest, a gathering, an event that requires this capability. So we're part of what's referred to as the Western Hub. So it's a collection of police agencies in this part of the province that work together to coordinate resources for those planned and sometimes unplanned events. And that builds that capability that's required across the province. And again, informed by best practices for training, equipment, and deployment capabilities. It's an ongoing issue. And we've seen to the adjoining communities right into the heart of the GTA, but all the way to Windsor, to Niagara, and other places, how we have to need to work together, especially for some of these sustained gatherings that occur not just for a few hours, but sometimes multiple day events. And there's a cost to such deployments. And that's why we want to ensure that the board and our community has a full picture on these legislated requirements, but also the impact for our community and beyond.
Okay, Karen, go ahead.
I'll just say that I really appreciated your line of questioning, because I think it's very often easy to look at what we're doing within the boundaries of Waterloo region without acknowledging that those partnerships transcend those political borders. And we all know the bad guys don't stop at the border of the region or the border of GTA. So I think this kind of cooperation and joining in the common cause is really important. Reminding the public that that's part of what WRPS does.
No. Okay, other questions? Tony? Okay, thank you to Inspector Mulholland and Chief for that report. I think both are important and appreciate the update. 11.3, the Innovation and Modernization Report. Who's going to introduce this one?
Thanks, Chair McLean. I'll give it to Deputy Fenton to provide an introduction for this report. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair McLean and members of the board. Happy to introduce Antoine Haroun, our Chief Information Officer, and Inspector Jarrett Brown, who leads our Innovation and Modernization Unit. So they are here to provide what has turned into an annual update from the Innovation and Modernization Unit around technology and innovative initiatives that they are pursuing on behalf of the service to keep us leading edge. So I'm going to turn over to Antoine and he'll kick us off. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Fenton and Chief Crowell. Good afternoon, Chair McLean, Chair Redmond, and members of the Police Services Board. Next slide, please. We are happy to share that in Q4 of 2025, we launched the Project Management Office pilot. By centralizing and consolidating project resources across WRPS, we formed 2 dedicated project teams each consisting of a project coordinator and 2 project analysts. The PMO pilot will run for a period of 18 months. The PMO pilot will help improve project delivery through standardized project management practices, strengthening governance, and improving coordination and communication. Next slide, please. In addition, we are strengthening the project governance structure through the Project Governance Committee and the Project Resource Committee. The Project Governance Committee includes the 3 deputy chiefs and has oversight over all projects at WRPS. Project submissions come to the Project Governance Committee. They are reviewed and prioritized while ensuring alignment with the strategic business plan and the budget priorities. Once a project is approved by the Project Governance Committee, it is referred to the Project Resource Committee. The Project Resource Committee will assess and confirm scope, timelines, budget, and resources, will assign a project lead and a project team, and will identify a project sponsor and a project steering committee. The Project Resource Committee reports back to the Project Governance Committee on a regular basis. In just a few months, we have seen a notable improvement in project delivery due to the introduction of the PMO pilot, but also by strengthening the governance structure through both committees. With that, I'll turn it over to Inspector Brown.
Thanks, Antoine. Good afternoon, Chair McLean and members of the board. My name's Inspector Jared Brown, and I oversee the Innovation and Modernization Unit. IMU exists to modernize our operations and support how we're delivering our policing services today, but also scale them into the future. Our mandate is to implement real scalable solutions that improve public safety and our service deliveries. And this often includes new technologies, modern tools, infrastructure, specialized equipment, aligning our organization, and targeted training. As Antoine mentioned earlier, the team consists of both sworn and civilian members, including project analysts, coordinators, managers, and business intelligence analysts. You go to the next slide, please. So I put this slide together just to reflect the work that IMU is currently doing that's underway or is in the planning stages. All of these initiatives span our entire organization. They provide investigative support in some cases, real-time operations support, communications transformation, and improves our public's access to our different services. While all these projects do stand on their own, they are intentionally designated to integrate, particularly as we build the Public Safety Communication Center and bring it online, and it becomes a central hub for all of our operations. And I'm now going to walk the board through a couple of our significant initiatives in a bit more detail. Next page, please. So the CCTV camera project is a data-driven initiative designed to enhance investigative capacity and public safety. So phase 1 includes 52 cameras across the region of Waterloo, and we've selected those sites based on 3 years of crime data as well as calls for service, and we're really focusing on violent crime. I've developed a 10-year capital and operating forecast to allow for responsible and scalable growth, but all of that is dependent on demonstrated performance and the operational impact that we believe these cameras will have. We expect this project is going to improve public safety by improving our investigative outcomes and supporting effective police response to high-risk major incidents as they unfold. Next slide, please. So drone as first responders, one that I'm very excited about because we're fundamentally improving what information our officers are going to have at the earliest moments of an incident. So this initiative involves positioning remotely piloted aircraft, so RPAS for short, at key locations across the region of Waterloo, and these flights would be conducted remotely from our real-time operations center. The objective of this program is to provide immediate aerial situational awareness to officers, fire departments, or EMS arriving on scene, supporting faster, safer, and more informed operational decision-making. And this is particularly important during high-risk dynamic calls for service. Importantly, this project does go beyond deploying aircraft. It includes establishing appropriate governance, unit structure, and a staffing model to support both mobile field operations as well as remote flight operations. And we are deliberately designing this program to scale and align with the completion of the PSCC, ensuring that DFR becomes fully integrated and our operational capability rather than just having a standalone drone program. And we do expect this initiative will enhance officer and public safety, improve our response times and effectiveness, and strengthen our command decision-making during critical incidents. Next slide, please. The next phase of our real-time operations center is focused on technology integration and improved operational awareness. This work brings together a lot of the projects that I've already spoken about, so including CCTV, drone as first responder, access to body-worn video and our automated license plate reader, and other incident command tools into a single coordinated operational environment. The goal is to provide our operational incident commanders and frontline officers with more complete real-time intelligence, supporting faster and more informed decision-making during active incidents. And we're also looking at enhancing the availability and utilization of duty officers and incident commanders, particularly during complex or resource-intensive events. We expect that this next phase of the RTOC to start shortly and then be fully integrated into our PSCC, which we believe will improve investigative outcomes and increase our efficiency across the service. Next slide, please. So we're working with ESCO right now on a non-emergency call diversion program, and this initiative is aimed at addressing one of our most persistent operational pressures, which is non-emergency call volume. AI-enabled call diversion allows non-emergency calls to be handled autonomously, reducing the demand on our call takers and allowing them to focus on answering 911 emergencies. From a public perspective, it improves the service by routing callers more quickly to the appropriate area, providing text message follow-ups, capturing reports where appropriate, and escalating true emergencies when required. From an organizational perspective, it's going to increase capacity without a proportionate increase to staffing. And we expect this initiative will improve our public's access to service, reduce pressures on our emergency call takers, and support better overall response capability. So in closing, I just want to say I'm really proud of the work that IMU has been doing. They've taken on a lot of complex, high-impact initiatives and are delivering them in a thoughtful and strategic way, which is all aligned with our governance, which Antoine spoke about earlier. And I do believe that the WRPS is well positioned to meet the current demands we're facing, but also adapt responsibly to the future of policing. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Jim.
I just want to say thank you very much for the presentation. I'm actually really excited about this pilot program and how, especially with the drone as a first responder, that really intrigues me that we can actually have information being given to our service as they're on their way to whatever incident that's there. So that also, for me, I'm thinking that they're not walking into anything like something that could be unsafe for our members. So I'm really looking forward to all the outcomes that come with this pilot project. So thank you very much.
Sandy.
Thank you. Thanks for some exciting technology that's coming up. I like the drones too and the possibilities there. But I want to talk about the CCTV. And I wonder if, because it came to our council a number of years ago and there was pushback from council and the community just about being on camera all the time, that sense of being on camera all the time. So I wonder if you could just give some assurances to the public about the use of.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So our CCTV camera project has been thoughtfully planned out to balance both public safety, but also respect everyone's privacy that lives in that area, but also would come to visit. So these cameras are not going to be live monitored by police officers unless there's a major incident that is happening in that exact area. For example, the public order incident that Inspector Klingenberg spoke about earlier would be a situation where we would need to access the cameras live to ensure a coordinated police response. We've also introduced a chief's procedure, drafting board policy, ensuring that only trained members from a real-time operations center are accessing this. And it is all housed and stored in an encrypted cloud-based storage solution in Canada. So we do believe we've really been responsible and struck a balance between public safety, enhancing our investigative outcomes, but really respecting the privacy of our citizens as well.
Thank you.
Karen.
Thank you very much for the presentation, and I'm really glad that Sandy asked that question because I think it's really important for the public to know that there is a policy regime also in place to strike that right balance between using this as a tool and protecting public privacy. So I think that's a really important thing to underscore. I, about a month ago, was at the Accelerator Center with the Minister of Defense Procurement. And there's a whole lot of entrepreneurs working in this space right now. And I'm just wondering, do we have any kind of relationship with local entrepreneurs that are looking at coordinating this? Actually, some of it's through AI, but this kind of information.
I'll jump in. I mean, or maybe Eugene, if you just want to speak about the landscape of ESCO and then how our engagements, sort of are leaning that way for us to ensure our partnerships are thoughtful and far-reaching. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chief. Yeah, so as the board's well aware, we have the partnership that we lead with the Emergency Services Cooperative of Ontario with 5 different police services. So that gives us a good leverage of research. We're very in tune to the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police. There's an AI governance committee there as well, and we've got our own internal AI governance committee and steering committee as well. Locally, we're very aware that we're blessed to be in a tech hub, so to speak, in Waterloo region. So just yesterday, myself and Antoine had a meeting with a local tech leader. And we're having we routinely have meetings with different tech leaders, whether it be Community Tech or North Guide or anyone else, just around what they can offer us to make sure that we're always thinking outside the box. We don't always want to be thinking about what other police services are doing, although we always benchmark that way. But we also want to know what else is out there, what aren't they doing, what's in the future, and how can we be ahead of that. So we're always in sync with those opportunities locally as well, and take advantage of them.
Thanks for the report. I just wanted to recognize the value add of this pilot to the organizational structure. It seems that it really adds a lot of significant, effective and efficient management of projects that are probably nonstop for advancement, either technologically, whatever, in industry generally, and how police services do their work. So kudos to making this change, and I hope the pilot ends up being a go forward addition to the structure.
Tony.
Through you, Mr. Chair. My question is on the non-emergency call diversion. I see the word AI-enabled call diversion. And I know today AI is almost human-like in some of its responses. But I presume individuals or people are calling in, they're looking for some help, be it non-emergency or emergency. But those non-emergencies, are they being directed relatively effectively and efficiently to the right area and for the right person to respond to that need of that individual calling in?
Yeah, I can answer that question. It's a good question. So we are working closely with a number of other partner agencies that have already implemented similar software as a solution, and they've seen quite positive results. They track KPIs of, what satisfaction of the caller, are they getting where they need to go? Are emergencies being escalated up to a 911 dispatcher? And what is the call volume reduction of non-emergency calls that do make their way into the communication center? And preliminarily, we've seen positives on all fronts, on all KPIs tracked through large regional municipal services that have already implemented this. And we're working closely with ESCO and our services within ESCO to make sure that we're tracking all the same KPIs and we're picking an appropriate solution for our service.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a couple of questions. I hope you will describe what they want. Maybe just a quick explanation of why you have 2 units. And I think it sounded like the deputies are kind of at the top of both of them. Why did you break them? I mean, I'm imagining, but I just want to hear the answer of why two separate units? It's just there's so many projects on the go. What's the explanation for why having two units in the project management office? Eugene, who's more there?
Yeah, I can speak to that. It's not so much two different units as two different committees. Our innovation modernization unit is serving as our backbone project management, and a lot of that is been spurred on by the projects that are related to the new public safety communication center that were time sensitive as far as researching and designing them, so that we could inform the design of the public safety communication center. The two committees that were mentioned, the project governance committee, where the three deputies and several other senior leaders sit on, is really just to ensure that high level governance around what are the priorities of the organization. Obviously, any organization can't do everything that they would like to do. So many projects come in as suggestions. Some have to be, not now. Maybe we do them later, or in some cases we decline to do them at all. So that allows us to prioritize those projects, and then the project resource, and then the ones that we do say yes to, we send it down to the project resource committee that Antoine Haroon, our Chief Information Officer, chairs. And that's really where they get into the meat and potatoes of, okay, the governance committee said, yes, we can do this project. We have the budget and there's the will internally to do it. How do we actually do it? Who's going to do it? What team is going to be assigned to do it? Is it going to be the innovation and modernization unit? If it's technology related, is it going to be our IT branch? Is it going to be through ESCO if it's a project that would benefit the other ESCO agencies? Or is it more strategic in a review type project? And sometimes those get assigned to our strategic services unit. So all of those leaders sit on that committee, and they dissect and decide when and how the projects will get done, and then report that back to the governance committee. And then we work collaboratively to keep them on schedule and on budget.
So just a thought, I think having this as more frequently than not will be very important for the board, but also the public to see how we're doing. Innovation and modernization could be buzzwords, but what does it practically mean? And that's some of the projects that you highlighted. Give some concrete examples of that. A lot of them seem to be, how are we more nimble police force? How are we more cost effective? How are we working more safely and having more productivity? A couple of examples that you see in the news, especially in a military context in Ukraine, how they're using drones, how they're using robotics and unmanned vehicles of all sources, whether it's there's military applications, but there's how taking that technology and implementing it in our context too, from a public safety and policing perspective. I think it would be very useful to get that as frequently as is possible, because I think it's important that the AI part, all of these innovations, you're dealing with these in real time, and it shouldn't just come for awareness at budget time when we're looking at how we're going to resource things. Of how do we look at things, and with AI touch on human trafficking and all kinds of the things that you're already doing. And it is a fascinating discussion. I would hate for it to be just pigeonholed as technology. I think that there's a whole bunch of practical, how does it impact and benefit citizens when we're looking at how we modernize and innovate the way that we're doing things. So anyways, that's more of a comment than anything else. I think if we could do that a couple of times a year, so that it doesn't get caught up in just the budget cycle or what's next, it would be useful to share that information. Chair Redmond.
This is idle curiosity, and if you don't have the answer right now, that's fine. But I'm used to thinking of drones being a certain size, but I have seen ones that looked as big as a Volkswagen. It would be really interesting to know if you can fill us in. How big are the drones that WRPS is?
Sure. So the drones, we have not selected the manufacturer yet, so we'd have to go through the RFP process, but most of them will be commercial grade drones. They're not the small ones you'd buy at something like Best Buy, but they're probably about 3 feet across, and they're very similar to the drones and our RPAS units our traffic services as well as our emergency response team currently use. The difference is they're housed in a box on top of a structure where they can launch remotely. So very similar technology, just where you're piloting from is different.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions, comments? I'm gonna thank you, very interesting report, appreciate that update. Chief, we're off to 11.4 Public Safety Communications Center. Who's leading this one off?
Yeah, over to Deputy Fenton again. Thank you.
Morning again, Chair McLean and members of the board. So happy to introduce Inspector Jamie Brousseau, who's here to close the loop on a consultant report that we commissioned related to co-location of emergency services within the Public Safety Communications Center that we are building. So without further ado, I'm going to turn over to Inspector Brousseau, who the board is familiar with, and he'll walk us through that report.
Thank you, Deputy. Good afternoon, members of the board. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate the opportunity to update you on an important consultant report commissioned by the WRPS in support of this critical public safety project. Next slide, please. These are the objectives for the presentation. We'll give you a bit of background. We'll talk about participation. We'll look at some of the benefits and challenges. And then we'll talk about some of the recommendations and next steps that we have received in this report. In terms of background, it's important to start by explaining why the service sought consultant support in the first place. We have been pursuing partnerships in the Public Safety Communications Center since 2023. Over that time, we've been continually espousing the benefits of co-location that we believe will be achieved. We've been supported in our efforts by past consultant reports and reviews that identified the potential of co-location, but not truly in significant detail. We've been hearing from potential partners that benefits may not be as significant as anticipated because increased sharing of technology has improved efficiency of service. We have stayed consistent in our belief that improved service is more than just response times. It is the efficient collective deployment and management of resources based on a full intelligence-led understanding of what is needed to deliver an effective response. We wanted to give local agencies an opportunity to provide their perspective on how service delivery can be more integrated so that we fully understand it and the consultant could consider it in their analysis. We selected Barkwell Holland, which I'll refer to as the BH group, just to make it a little bit easier, as the consultant for this study for a few important reasons. The reality is there are not many consultants that are working in this sphere that have direct and practical experience with 911 operations in Ontario and can conduct the level of analysis we were seeking. BH Group is a Canadian company located in the Greater Toronto Area, and their experiences with the Canadian 911 system. Their CEO, Holly Barkwell, is the Canadian Regional Director for the National Emergency Number Association, which is a professional organization dedicated to improving 911 operations worldwide. So it's a very unique set of qualifications that she has. BH Group has been heavily involved in the transition from legacy 911 to NG 911 and have built a very strong reputation for their knowledge of the system and their analytical and problem-solving abilities related to its implementation. To be frank, they have the experience consulting on projects that involve both co-location and consolidation, and they also have experience with municipalities, police services, and fire services. In our mind, they were the logical choice based on our knowledge of them, and I can say that overall we are pleased with their efforts and the quality of the report. In terms of the mandate that we provided to BH Group, we were quite clear that we're looking for them to provide us with an understanding of the advantages and disadvantages associated with co-location. For the latter, the disadvantages, we wanted to know if the challenges that exist around co-location could be reasonably mitigated. We asked them to consider both the tangible and intangible benefits. Yes, it's important to consider tangibly whether co-location will improve response times, but it's also important to consider intangibly how emergency response can be improved by harnessing and sharing greater intelligence and enhancing situational awareness. We also wanted BH Group to consider if the current state of interoperability we have in our region can be improved through co-location. We did offer suggestions to BH Group on how the study could be compiled, and this was intentional. These suggestions were rooted in our desire to understand how co-location has been studied academically and also achieved practically, specifically in the North American context. We wanted to offer the opportunity to all applicable local agencies to participate in the study, to ensure that we understood their perspectives, and that was captured in the analysis, but also give them an opportunity to ask questions and engage in dialogue. We were hoping for an open, unfiltered conversation about improving service integration and the efficiency or the efficacy of co-location. Next slide, please. So the offer of participation in the study was also an attempt to rechannel the discussion that had already occurred or was still occurring around co-location into a more analytical forum. We understand that there are a lot of political considerations involved in co-location, and we believe that offering participation in the study would bring the discussion down to a more practical consideration of benefits and challenges. It would also be an opportunity to discuss areas of local alignment, where our shared objectives could form the basis of a path forward. And a great example of that is the implementation of NG 911 Phase 1 and Phase 2 and 3 that are yet to come. You can see from the slide that some local agencies elected to participate while others did not. Next slide, please. So the BH Group determined that there are some significant benefits of co-location that could be expected. Many of the benefits revolve around sharing of information in real time, which I would define as the time the call is received into the communication center, as well as the potential for shared use of advanced technology. Being in a co-located facility also offers the partners the opportunity to continually look at how they work together, to refine processes and bring a greater alignment to their procedures. And we appreciated seeing that the BH Group identified this benefit as we heard it ourselves during benchmarking for the Public Safety Communication Center. If I can summarize the benefits of the BH Group identified in one statement, it's that being co-located means the partners are ideally situated and incentivized to work together to deliver service more efficiently and effectively. Obviously, there are clear challenges that must be properly considered and mitigated. While these challenges could be a determinant of failure, they're not absolute and can be successfully addressed through open collaboration, proper planning, and decisive execution. In the next few slides, I'll explain the recommendations that were made by BH Group and how we can work collectively together to achieve a successful co-location. I'll also give a brief summary of what the WRPS is currently doing to move these recommendations forward. Next slide. Nope, that's the right side. Thank you. So solicit and cultivate political cooperation, strong partnerships, sustained political will, and shared vision. From July to September 2024, we delivered a series of presentations to all the cities, townships, and fire departments in Waterloo region. And we have continued that engagement from that time. Basically, at every opportunity we have to engage for the PSCC, we are looking to capitalize on that. We are engaged in continued advocacy with various provincial ministries regarding the Cambridge Central Ambulance Communication Center and its participation in the PSCC. And some of those ministries include the Ministry of Health, Solicitor General, and Emergency Preparedness and Response. We also have been involved in continued engagement with local provincial members of Parliament. And really the affirmation for us is we've been told repeatedly that the vision to co-locate agencies in the PSCC is one that is valid and is aligned with the province's efforts to enhance emergency preparedness across the province. The second recommendation is to recruit project champions, navigate politics, build trust, and communicate clearly. It is very critical, according to BH Group, to ensure that you have project champions identified that have continuity in the project and are passionate about the vision. As you are likely aware at this point, Deputy Chief Eugene Fenton is our champion here at the WRPS, and 3 other champions have been identified from various paramedic services, We have Chief John Riches from the region of Waterloo, Chief Gary Staples from Dufferin County, and Chief Stephen Dewar from Guelph Wellington. The third recommendation is to develop a solid governance framework. You need to have a suitable framework for effective governance. We have said since the beginning of this project that the future long-term governance of the PSCC is not exactly set. The WRPS is leading this project due to its role in providing the public safety answering point for the region, and the fact that the capital funding for this project flows through the police service. But we do recognize it as a regional facility, and we also understand that a proper governance management framework would need to be established with any potential partners that come on side. Things like terms of reference, representation, decision-making models, dispute resolution mechanisms are all things that we recognize we would need if we are looking to engage in effective governance, and they would all be captured through various memorandums of agreement and understanding. Recommendation number 4 is to revisit call handling workflows. So the goal is to reduce redundancy and increase efficiency. We are very much prepared to address this, even outside of the PSCC project. But the reality is we require participation from local agencies that provide 911 operations, specifically the Kitchener Fire Department and the Ministry of Health. We believe there are opportunities for improvement, and the agencies that participate in the study said the same to the BH group. I think this is yet to come, and it's certainly something that is on our horizon. And as I indicated, it's something that we could even look outside of the PSCC discussion. If you go to the next slide, please. So number 5 is establish the long-term vision for the PSCC. And we need to collaborate on short, medium, and long-term objectives. The WRPS has shared their long-term vision for the facility, that it would be a co-located facility, specifically with fire and paramedic services. And we're seeking collaboration to solidify that vision. It's important to define and plan for what is meant to be mid to long-term, which is a time frame that we have been given for potential participation. We need to develop objectives that fit those timeframes. But really, to do that, we require participation from other partners. What we think as being reasonable objectives to move this project forward may not be consistent with other views from other local agencies. So it really does require a more collaborative discussion. The BH group was very specific when they identified that it is imperative to break this effort down into manageable segments. Co-location is a very complicated discussion with a lot of factors to consider. So it is difficult to imagine that we could achieve it in one fell swoop without breaking it down into reasonable segments that we could look to achieve. The next recommendation is to establish technical, financial, and operational committees. And this really goes to supporting effective planning. We have prepared a preliminary financial model for partnership, but the reliability and accuracy of the model really does turn on us having a full and proper understanding of partner needs. Unfortunately, we haven't had that level of discussion at this point, so it becomes difficult to create reliable and accurate costings. Obviously, if we have a partner that comes to the table, we will be very deliberate in determining a reasonable cost of participation that can be fully understood. Things like technical and operational committees will be established, obviously, once potential partners come on board. One thing that we have been doing to bring some meaning to this recommendation is we have recently initiated the launch of the Waterloo Region Emergency Services Integration Working Group, which is intended to be a working group that is focused on integration broadly between local agencies as it pertains to emergency response. But we're also hoping that that group will help us consider as a service how the PSCC fits into the broader context of capabilities and capacity in terms of shaping emergency response in our region. So we're hoping that will be included in the envelope of those discussions, but we're very eager to be at that table having an opportunity to speak about closer integration between the services, given its importance. The 7th recommendation is engagement and education. And really what we're looking to do here is continually look for opportunities to engage, educate, and advocate on this project. We're not wavering in our efforts to engage potential partners, but we'll also look to continue to engage with elected officials at all levels, as well as the community. I know in very short order, we will be launching a public-facing website that will aim to keep the public and our potential partners informed of the status of the project, so that they can understand where it's headed, its scope, share in some of the visuals that we will be offering, so that the community feels like there's an air of transparency around this project, which certainly is a value to us. Phased implementation basically speaks to early adopter kind of concepts for this project. BH Group suggests that it is wise and logical to look at bringing a single agency on board first before in a pilot process before you look to bring multiple agencies on. And this makes sense from a best practice perspective to create the framework for co-location while also managing the complexity with one partner. The service is certainly in full support of this recommendation, but again, this is one that requires participation from a partner that's willing to engage and do that planning. Finally, program management and change management simply speaks to ensuring that we use proven methodologies to establish solid project governance. And obviously, we just had Inspector Brown on here speaking about our project governance structure. We use these methodologies. They're being used in practice now. We are fully committed to engaging with partners using these methodologies and have found success in their use already on our existing projects. And that includes obviously effectively managing project schedules and budgets, but also most importantly, the transition of staff who are obviously heavily affected from co-location efforts. In conclusion on the report, there was a very strong and clear recommendation that Waterloo Region should pursue a co-located facility as a forward-looking strategy for several reasons, and I'll mention a few of them. Obviously, there's significant rising costs across all aspects of public safety. Not that co-location is the solution to all things cost-effective, because it's not, but the opportunity for long-term cost savings is there. Obviously, there's growing complexity of systems and technology, and we're seeing that. NG911 is a fabulous example of that. They are very complex transitions. They're costly, and the more we can do to combine our efforts to look to bring that technology to bear, that makes sense in terms of the opportunity and cost of that. Anticipated population growth, while we know that we're looking at significant growth in our region, and so these systems and the delivery of service is only going to get more complex. Finally, I think there's heightened public expectation around emergency response and the service levels that we deliver. And so there's an expectation to do more based on the public investment in our systems. For some next steps, if you want to go to the next slide, please. So the service remains laser focused on the vision for the PSCC. We want it to be a co-located facility where agencies work collaboratively, using the best technology and intelligence to shape emergency response. We believe this model will offer the best customer service to the community, and that belief is rooted in past consultant reports and reviews, and now this consultant report as well. We will continue to pursue partnerships, regardless of when those opportunities present themselves. Currently on the project, we're heavily invested in design, and the window for potential partners to have input into that process, unfortunately, is closing at the end of April as we move further into design. We are planning to complete the design of the PSCC towards the end of 2026. And from there, our efforts will shift towards the operationalization of the facility. So how does the service plan its operations leading up to the opening of the facility, upon opening, and then the future years of the PSCC? As you can appreciate, this kind of critical planning needs to be done to ensure that we are maximizing on the capacity and capabilities of the PSCC, but we also want to be very deliberate in our organizational planning to ensure proper resourcing and effective service. And part of that planning will continue to be to engage with our local agencies here through various working groups, as well as any other mediums that present to us, just to continue to determine how the PSCC can improve our collective response here in Waterloo Region. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you for the presentation. Questions, comments? I think one of the things that I think the takeaway is conversations have started, and even if as we move forward, the door is always open to those conversations, particularly as things evolve. I'm pleased to hear that. That's inherent in the project itself as we kind of go down the road. Tony, give it on some.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering, some of the organizations that have not signed on locally, they raise the concerns or the challenge that were brought out in the report, be it labor disparities, cultural resistance. Is that an echo of what you're hearing, of the thought and mindset of some of the organizations that have said it have signed on yet? I don't know who or if anyone can answer that, but.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the question. Yeah, certainly. I think that this report gives us a good landscape of the local experience. It's just in terms of concerns, recognized by multiple agencies, those not participating presently. But it also speaks to the larger landscape and lessons learned from other communities that have gone down the path of co-location and collaboration on shared technology and deployment in space. So yeah, I think it's a fair assessment overall. We have provided a debrief to those that have participated, and the plan moving forward is twofold. One is creating a public record, which actually goes back several decades. This isn't a one-off report. This is a complementary report that's looked at various partnership opportunities for several decades, but also to move forward to have a transparent accounting of opportunities that will continue to be open for partnership and beyond. And when we look at the design of the building that is underway for the Public Safety Communications Center, we are still moving ahead with the mind that partnership will be an opportunity and enhancement for all the reasons that have been discussed today. But to serve WRPS and our public safety needs now and into the future, we're still incorporating best practices that are cost efficient and really prudent for the current landscape and into the future as well.
Chair Ribbon.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Tony.
You good, Tony? Yeah, okay. Karen.
Just to tag on to the chief's answer to that, this isn't a new project and we're not the first police service to do this. And I just really wanted to zero in on the why we're doing this, because clearly not having partnerships would be a missed opportunity. And I appreciate the fact that we're being collaborative and we're looking forward to what the future is going to hold as we continue to grow. I think the partnerships are really important, but I think that it's also important to remind ourselves and anybody who doing this from the public that this actually is a very necessary next step for our communications. And I'm wondering, Chief, if you can just talk for a minute about why this is so important to us and why we need to do it for WRPS at this juncture for the police service and for the welfare of the community.
Thanks, Chair. I mean, I would say on behalf of our team that we're at a critical juncture point when it comes to some accelerators with technological opportunity and also challenges. So that's why we've undertaken this as a centerpiece part of our smart growth planning for the future. Any undertaking of this magnitude is considerable, so many moving pieces. But with the advent of next generation 911, it provides us some measures to meet moving forward for the complexity of what communication technology is today and what it will be tomorrow. So we're trying to position ourselves as the most innovative, collaborative, and efficient operation possible. And this report and our planning moving forward really emphasizes that more is possible through partnership, through cost consolidation, through the sharing of technology, and some of those multipliers. And the world is complex. We're dealing with global issues of many kinds that are becoming local issues, and it really impacts the protection and the safety needs of our community. So that's the support that we are seeking. The board has certainly reinforced their support for this approach to innovation, modernization, and smart growth. And we have many partners, some have been named and others that are in the fold for the future that we know will join us in this venture to provide the best public safety approach moving forward. And we're excited, but we're also mindful of so many pressing community needs that are complementary to those challenges that I've referenced.
And I can say a number of the reports today, Chief, kind of all build on the modernization and innovation report that we have repeatedly. And you talked about 20 years. Certainly, we talked about space requirements for the services. The community grows to 1 million people. So there's all kinds of these things that are layered on of requirements of the service itself, because we are growing. What the community expects as we grow. Modernization, innovation. Part of this is designed to have the drones and be able to have real-time incident command and all those sorts of things. The other one is the project management office as well, saying that this is a priority. It's going to be, it delivers on the why that Chair Redmond talks about, why it's important, but also that, we have oversight of saying it's going to be on time, it's going to be on budget, it's going to deliver what we expect and what the community should expect in terms of the most efficient, effective emergency services and communications that this community deserves. So you can pull all those threads together, and sometimes because we have a big volume of things, we don't actually bring all of those pieces together. So I think today was a number of them intersect here. So thank you for those reports today. Any other questions from the board? Chief, we're all good there?
We're great. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for that. Last report before we adjourn is community safety well-being. That's 11.5.
Thanks, Chair McLean, and very happy to have Samina Sami join us, the Executive Director of the Region of Waterloo's Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, and also Inspector Aaron Mathias to walk us through an overview of the Safety and Wellbeing Plan's refresh, and happy to provide that introduction. So welcome, Samina and Aaron.
Thank you, Chief, and I believe our slide deck will be up here shortly. Good afternoon, Chief, Chair McLean, and members of the board. Very pleased to join you today, and pleased to welcome Samina Sami, the Executive Director of Community Safety Wellbeing at the Region of Waterloo. Samina joined the region in September of 2025, and in that short time has not only immersed herself in more than 4 years of community and safety wellbeing work and history, but has now led the refresh version of the region's 2026 to 2030 Community Safety Wellbeing Plan through to the approval stage at Council last month, and very pleased to provide some key highlights to the board today. Next slide, please. Thank you. During plan consultations, we found it very helpful to review some fundamental elements that help us to better understand the why community safety wellbeing plans exist and the roles and responsibilities of police services within the plan, and also to delineate some responsibilities outside of these legislated sections. So the Community Safety and Policing Act is really where this lives and prescribes many responsibilities of adequate and effective policing to every police service in Ontario, naming the listed 6 major responsibilities, which importantly include crime prevention, consistent with the policing needs of the community. In addition to this section, we look to the same responsibility applied to individual police officers, further instructing police to assist and encourage others in the prevention of crime. I highlight these sections as community safety wellbeing is also truly a plan focused towards prevention, but also remains a key responsibility of police services. Aligned with our commitment to safety, crime prevention is daily and ongoing activity for the service, and we can look to our commitment to crime suppression, our youth engagement strategies with pathways to evidence-based programs such as Stop Now and Plan or alternate suspension program, crime prevention through environmental design audits, Lock It or Lose It campaigns, just to name a few. Next slide, please. The more prescriptive legislation truly outlines a public health approach to local risk priorities. Legislation stipulates that plans must identify risk or social factors in the community that lead to crime, victimization, addictions, drug overdose, suicide, or others as prescribed by the ministry, and also prescribes that multi-sector strategies are developed to reduce these prioritized risk factors, including new and existing services, improving integration or coordination in a different way. And so much of that work is happening at our 4 action tables currently. While the plan does take incident responses, including police, into consideration, it is in large part a plan meant to move systems responses into areas of intervention, prevention, and social development, to intervene with vulnerable or at-risk individuals or populations at a time before the risk factors lead to contact with frontline systems. Next slide, please. The section further goes on to outline the requirement of developing measurable outcomes, monitoring and evaluation and reporting on those measurable outcomes, and the effect that it is or is not having against identified risk factors. This ongoing monitoring and evaluation ensures that community safety well-being plans remain accountable and transparent for their efficacy and also their adaptability. Along with the revised legislation in 2019 came several tools from the ministry to assist municipalities and their partners in planning to further expand and on the intent of the plans. Further expand on the intent of the plans. Information provided outlines that investing in connecting services to upstream work helps to increase community protective factors or social determinants of health. And it is the hope that by making these connections, communities will experience the social benefits of addressing the root causes of crime and social disorder. Next slide, please. So as we know, Community Safety Wellbeing Plan is an all-of-community approach to dealing with our region's 4 identified priorities that were stood up in late 2023. And work at the 4 action tables has been evolving since that time to reduce these risk factors. To effectively address these issues, we continue to use evidence-based approaches to move work upstream into preventative programming, with the aim to improve overall systems capacity and outcomes for individuals. We're fortunate to have over 140 individuals working across the plan, representing a significant network of involved and aligned organizations, and I will pass it over to Samina.
Next slide, please. Thank you. It's a pleasure to join you here today. So a little bit of a background on the refresh. Under the Community Safety and Policing Act, all municipalities are required to develop a community safety and well-being plan in collaboration with communities and systems partners, and to refresh those plans every 4 years. For the region, who submitted a framework in 2022, the refresh plan is due this spring, and we're just in the process of about to submit it. And I've been in conversations with the Ministry of the Solicitor General to that effect. So the legislative mandate is all about accountability. Every 4 years, it ensures we engage regularly with our communities. We reflect on what we've achieved. We're transparent about our progress and communicate that out. And we recommit to future action together. So what you see in this refresh plan is that it's a clear reflection of the work that's been done over the last few years, including indicators and outcomes. It builds on the existing CSWP framework and the 4 priority areas, highlighting the actions, the indicators, progress, and what are next steps. In addition to that, we asked throughout our consultations, a lot happens in 4 years. Where do we need to go? Where do we need to develop? And so the plan also identifies emerging themes, gaps, evolving priorities to guide our work over the next 4 years. Most importantly, the refresh continues to be community-led as per mandated in the legislation. It strengthens shared ownership of the plan, applies a strong reconciliation EDI lens as anchored in the CSW framework, and that we also are ensuring that the plan continues to be flexible. It's a living document, it's responsive, it's relevant, and rooted in community collaboration. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the engagement and the process we undertook. Our engagement, was a meaningful process. We did have a short runway in terms of updating the refresh, but we wanted to be as thorough as we could be. So all of the organizations that you see listed in the plan were reached out to, and then even further than that. So that would be approximately 120 organizations across the region, then systems partners, and also our advisory committee, which we're actually legislatively mandated to consult with, and we consulted with them twice. So more than 90 community safety wellbeing partners contributed through online meetings, in-person sessions, written input, and we also sent surveys out to our area municipalities, and we also had staff representatives from the area municipalities at our consultations, ensuring that a diversity of voices across the region were included. We were very intentional about transparency, so these were not just consultations, and you see the plan later. The consultation started by sharing an early draft of the plan with everybody for input. That way everyone could see what the future plan would look like. And that throughout the process, it was iterative. As feedback was received, we gave back how that feedback would be incorporated in the plan. And then the updated materials were shared back with everybody, whether they participated or not. All of those 100+ organizations and area municipalities received the draft plans and how their feedback was incorporated. We also held focus sessions with youth in the region to understand their priorities. In addition to all of this, what's very important about the CSWP process is over the years, and certainly before my time, these committees, these spaces, these action tables, they've become safe spaces to raise issues, concerns, collaborate. And when we think of prevention, it's really mitigating those future issues become bigger because the solutions are developed together and there's spaces to talk about them. So this plan truly belongs to the community. Every page had input. The plan that you see in terms of challenges, co-created solutions, and creating a foundation for collaboration. So sustaining this collaboration between all of our systems partners across this region, this is an incredible region with a rich history in community safety and crime prevention. That's what we want to sustain. That's what we want to continue to expand upon, because that's actually how the work happens when you have that trust, that collaboration, so that we're truly working towards meaningful outcomes. And with that, I will turn it over to Aaron back again.
Thank you, Samina, and provide very brief progress updates. Certainly no new information in terms of the updates related to monthly updates that the board receives, and then just some going forward priority actions. So speaking to intimate partner violence and gender-based violence and our missing and murdered Indigenous women girls action table, we know that this remains an urgent and growing concern as all municipalities declared this an epidemic in 2023. The action table focused on coordination, survivor-centered approaches, and alignment across systems. Key work in this area includes strengthening the hub service delivery model of the Family Violence Project, supporting and expanding early intervention, engaging men, and improving access to legal and trauma-informed supports. Also very proud of the recent progress of the Not in My City campaign, a national anti-human trafficking campaign. And we're beginning to see some signage appear across the region at transit locations, and also a number of other partners willing to engage with the training. Going forward into the next 4 years, the focus is meaningful action in response to gender-based violence as an epidemic. Look to further integrate the Waterloo Region gender-based violence strategy, address human trafficking, and improving access to safe housing and healing spaces, and also strengthening our system accountability. In terms of mental health and addictions, these continue to drive high demand across emergency police and health and community services. Our mental health and addictions system transformation team really continues to work to reduce fragmentation and improve overall system coordination. Actions to date include Heart Hub expansion, mobile and outreach services, transitional housing considerations, and compensating lived experience partners. And going forward, some key actions include youth-focused prevention, youth wellness hubs, improving our crisis response in terms of mental health, and strengthening data sharing and continued system integration. And I will pass back to Samina to cover combating hate and safe and inclusive spaces.
Sure. So in 2025, the Combating Hate Action Table developed and launched the community-wide anti-hate awareness campaign, We All Belong Here. This is a perfect example of a whole community approach to prevention. It builds community support, it makes everyone feel safe, welcomed, and respected, and supports, all of our work that's being done on addressing hate from a preventative, standpoint. That campaign has been very successful in terms of there's been over 100 community partners who shaped that campaign. Over 30 community activation events have been held across the region and continue to do so. There's been over 9,000 views on the campaign website since the launch. Now that table is working on phase 2 of the We All Belong campaign that's going deeper in the community. So you may have seen the campaign out at hockey arenas, at community centers, libraries. They're going deeper in terms of, wanting those discussions at the community level, at everyday homes about hate and inclusion. They're also going to be focused on protocols and policies for responding to hate, how to train bystanders and allies, and developing an inventory of supports and resources. So the fourth, strategic priority, safe and inclusive spaces. As I understand, two community forums were held over the years where this was a big theme that came up. One of the areas that was seen as a gap was safe and inclusive spaces for Indigenous communities. While they represent 4% of the population in the region, they're overrepresented in terms of the criminal justice system, the child welfare system, and other areas that we want to do better at preventing. So there's a gap in terms of hubs for services, ceremony, and healing, and that's been identified as one of the priorities. Though this is still a very important priority for across the region, and what we heard in our consultations is initiatives such as septet audits at the local, regional level would be very helpful. And this is the kind of work that we can start on safe and inclusive spaces with our area municipalities, in addition to other areas such as looking at parks, walkways. We've heard from youth about transit and safety. These are all part of our priorities going forward. So I'll turn it over to Erin to launch the next slide.
Thank you. And looking forward to the next 4 years of the plan, the partners identified a number of themes, and we've built a vision for the future from that. We recognize that the work is complex and involves collaborative systems and community mapping. And our consultations really highlighted that the work will take time and care in preparation. Community partners strongly affirm the need to stay focused on the already established 4 priorities with a sharper emphasis on measurable outcomes, dashboards, and progress reporting. Another major theme was the need for clear governance and administrative process, including defined roles, onboarding for action table members, and stronger coordination across the tables to avoid any duplication. Partners also emphasized robust community engagement and evidence-informed data systems, including shared indicators, better use of existing local data, and public-facing reporting to strengthen transparency and accountability. And I will pass back to Samina one final time to conclude the presentation.
Sure. Thanks, Erin. So, when we asked about gaps, evolving areas, what was very apparent, we heard this across all of those community partners, as well as from area municipalities, that the well-being issues in the region are a really significant risk factor, particularly housing and homelessness. This is now cutting across GBP, IBP, obviously contributing to an uptick in human trafficking, other areas. But along with that, food insecurity, cost of living, access to healthcare, these are all protective factors that prevent communities going down the line of the criminal justice system, mental health systems that cost us, that, impact our communities in negative ways. So that was identified as a theme to develop further. In addition to that, we are at very high risk at human trafficking, and that's been identified as a priority in addition to other areas. What was certainly identified is that we have a lot of collaboratives and tables working on these initiatives. And what this plan shouldn't do is duplicate efforts. What we should be doing is working on these areas in ways that are impactful, but where we can make a difference where there's gaps. And that's what we're going to do going forward, working on everything from our housing and homelessness tables, the work that's being done under human trafficking, looking at healthcare and access to healthcare, but again, in ways that are not duplicating efforts. There was also a strong emphasis that we should continue to embed truth and reconciliation and that lens throughout our work. But in addition to that, inclusion across our membership, take a look at the membership of committees and action tables. Are they representative? Should we expand? We've had really great feedback in terms of, the private sector is a missing area. Our chambers of commerce should be part of this. And how do we also ensure that we all have, are addressing gaps such as accessibility? So finally, this plan really emphasizes collaborative systems. The way to do this work, not through duplication, not through having meaningless approaches, where we're working on things for years without outcomes, but being sharp, targeted, evidence-based, action-based in the work that we do. So our action table said those 4 areas that you saw as priorities, they're not mutually exclusive. Hate is tied to GBV is tied to mental health and addictions. Those tables have said we want to collaborate more, we want to be more efficient, more outcomes based. Our area municipalities, asked us for deeper engagement with them, and that's why that is a significant pillar going forward. They have very diverse needs. We have a very diverse region from rural through to urban, and our township set to ensure that we're emphasizing the distinction of rural areas versus urban. And so we wanted to work deeper with them on those local priorities. We heard that some, area municipalities wanted to emphasize youth violence. Others wanted to look at CCTV data, working more closely with Waterloo Regional Police. And others said we want CPTED audits. That's the kind of localized, targeted work we want to do with our area municipalities. So collectively, all these gaps and themes integrate across the action tables, they're going to be reflected in a 4-year action plan that we're going to work on and be transparent about those outcomes. The next slide, please. So where are we going in terms of next steps? We are, going to be presenting the plan to the Ministry of the Solicitor General. We're pleased to say that the plan passed council. In addition to that, this spring and into the summer, we want to do that robust community engagement. We heard across every consultation and throughout the surveys that our communities need to know more about the planning. They should be engaged more. They should know how this plan addresses their needs. And so we have started a process for robust community engagement. We want to celebrate and recognize all these partners have been giving immeasurably of their time. So we'll likely be holding an event, a celebration event. That's also what other municipalities have done as their plans are refreshed. And we also want to do solid action planning, identify those baseline indicators, those outcomes, and those objectives for those action tables, start working with our collaboratives on where is it that we can make a difference, and have action plans ready by the end of this year. In addition to that, we're working on a fall shared symposium with other collaboratives in the region. There's been a lot of success with symposiums in the past and a lot of interest in that learning and engagement. And in the new year, bringing together our action tables so we can report on progress on actions, learn together, and we have a responsibility of reporting on this progress publicly as well, making sure we're not only reporting to you as a board, reporting to our council, but posting on our website and making sure that we're transparent and accountable. And then in June 2027, we'll be returning to council with an updated plan that incorporates and takes into account the feedback received from council. And we want to do some work with our community in terms of surveying them, consulting with them, looking at where some of those broad themes are, but also being mindful, again, we're not duplicating work of Waterloo Regional Police. We're ensuring that we're doing work that makes a difference in ways that are efficient and accountable. So that's the final slide. The thank you slide is next. And thank you. And we're open to your questions.
Thank you for the report. Questions, comments? Chair Evans.
Thank you very much for the update. It's very informative and it's very impressive. Some of us, I know Karen Quigley Hobbs and Sandy Shantz, and I have been on this journey for a few years, and it's really exciting to see us come to this juncture. Samina or Aaron, can you talk to us a little bit about the engagement of youth? Because this is upstream, and part of this is education and is preventing things from happening that cause people to not feel as safe as we'd like them to be. Can you talk a little bit about how we're integrating youth, their perspective and their voice in this process?
Sure, I can start that. So we intentionally consulted with youth. We had a youth-focused youth advisory committee, which is of the region. and a broad cross-section of youth participated in that. We also consulted with the CYPT table, so the Children and Youth Action Table, and they, of course, have consulted extensively with youth and have done survey work. And so they provided input into this plan. They've identified 6 priorities that are very important for youth in the region, and amongst them, top is there in mental health and addictions, bullying, technology, safe spaces, transportation. So we're really being informed by that broader table of children and youth planning table. We also consulted with the mental health and addictions transformation table, who has a focused committee on youth. So those are going to be all those ways that we'll continue to engage and work with youth. Our youth are very important. Chair Redmond, I couldn't agree more, in the prevention work, as well as hearing from their voices on how they could have meaningful co-design solutions to make them feel more safer in the region. I don't know if Erin, you'd like to add?
I think you've covered everything from the community safety wellbeing plan perspective. Thanks, Samina.
Okay, I think that's it. I don't see any. Thank you so much for the update, important work, and look forward to continuing to hear about the progress we're making on these important issues. Okay, I think we're only the 52 minutes over, so we're going to give Chief the last number of minutes for the monthly Chief of Police report. Chief, over to you.
Thanks, members of the board. I'll just provide the monthly Chief of Police report to highlight some of our investigative work and proactive work. So very proud of some of our efforts. Over 30 charges were laid following a series of commercial break-and enters. So between February and March, 5 separate break-and enters occurred in Waterloo. And during the course of our investigation, a search warrant was conducted, and ultimately a 43-year-old male was charged for numerous offenses involving weapons and possession of stolen property for over 30 criminal offenses. So great investigative work over a period of time. Also highlighting a significant investigation regarding organized crime in our region. 6 suspects were arrested related to trailer and load theft investigations. So through the course of a comprehensive undertaking, we have arrested and charged 6 adult males who range from Brampton, Mississauga, and Paris, jointly charged with over 61 offenses for the tractor trailer load and related investigation outcomes. And we continue to see organized crime infiltrating our region on many fronts related to trailer and load thefts and connected offenses. Highlighting some amazing frontline police work as well. Drugs and firearm investigation related to an incident in March where 2 search warrants were effected and ultimately led to the seizure of drug trafficking evidence as well as a handgun. Ultimately, 2 males were charged and arrested for numerous offenses. And this also is similar to another frontline investigation related to the Central Division Street Crime Team that conducted over the course of several months a comprehensive drug trafficking investigation that led to search warrant executions and also related to drug trafficking paraphernalia and the seizure of several weapons. Ultimately, 6 accused have been arrested in this undertaking, and very comprehensive investigative work across many months. For our traffic enforcement and road safety efforts, we've seen continued efforts. You can see the number of offense-related matters displayed on the screen related to the Fatal 4 offenses and beyond. So as the warmer weather certainly takes us into spring, into summer, our efforts for road safety will carry us forward for our visibility and our enforcement and road safety education. To give one example, though, I know that of great concern is speeding and aggressive driving, and ultimately what is stunt driving on our roadways. We've had several offenses and captured just a couple within the last couple of weeks is a series of stunt driving behavior investigations. And one example was just captured where someone has doubled the posted speed limits, resulting in a significant vehicle impound and license suspension. So we're reminding our community that we are present and we're active and engaged for serious offenses related to speeding and aggressive driving. On a happy note, we're very proud to have hosted a citizenship oath ceremony at our police headquarters on March 20th and welcomed 102 new Canadian citizens to this ceremony and to our community. It was a very proud event for us to host this event on Francophonie Day as well, recognizing the vibrancy of our community and our country at large. We're also very proud to host the upcoming open house during Police Week. So on Saturday, May 9th, at our police headquarters, we welcome the community with our doors open for various displays and engagements with WRPS, but also many community partners that will join us on that day. Very proud to announce that we have been named as a top employer in Southwestern Ontario and the Waterloo region area for the second year in a row, recognizing the amazing investments for our organizational health and wellness and the efficiency of our operations and in supporting our members' work broadly. So very proud of this recognition as we continue to attract and to support the best talent available to support our policing operations. So very proud of everyone contributing to these efforts. And throughout the course of the last month, we've been heavily engaged from recruitment events to engagement and celebration events. And we know that as the warmer weather unfolds, we'll be actively participating in so many touch points with our community. So that completes the Chief of Police report for the last month, and very proud of those efforts and all of our members' engagements. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Questions or comments from the board? I would say, I think tonight, Chief, I don't know how many we have, the new auxiliary officers are being sworn in tonight. How many are we going to welcome to volunteering at the service? I got you, because I don't know the number either.
I love getting a stumping question, so I don't have the answer for the ceremony tonight, but we are very proud to have up to 100 auxiliary members. So it's an annual event to welcome those new members to our community, and it will be a proud night for those new volunteers.
And at the Elmira Maple Syrup Festival this past weekend, there was lots of presence from the auxiliary officers helping, which was a huge turnout, great weather.
How did your team do in pancake flipping?
We're committed to community service and giving. So we gave the gift of allowing others to in this year, and that is our track record.
I would say that
moving forward.
Chief and I, because the Greater KW Chamber Commerce team and the Waterloo Region Police Service team were both in the same spot. So we have lots of room for improvement for next year and training to be done at our parking lot party at the end of June. Chief, you can send your troops over. We're going to do some new tryouts because we have some work to do as well. In any event, thank you for your report. No other questions. I don't think we have any new business, future agenda items. For the media, we'll as soon as we adjourn, we'll do media welcome and logging into the Zoom. I think you can provide it separately. Chief Crowell and myself will be available to take questions. I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Craig, seconded by Jim. All those in favor? That's approved, and thank